fantastic for vehicle to grid because obviously the things are basically a giant battery pack. And so they do grid services while they're parked in the depot and then do the school run basically for free.
So what are because we've talked a lot about the benefits of this, we've talked a lot about the pluses, we haven't talked about any of the minuses. What are the downsides to vehicle to grid?
Well, the downside is you've got to leave your vehicle plugged in. So, so from a behavioural point of view, if you can't leave your vehicle plugged in, if the vehicle's in constant use, then it's not really able to, so it's not for everybody. So, but there are enough people who leave their vehicle plugged in for long, or stationary for long periods of time. So the difference is that you have to do is instead of leaving your vehicle on the drive, you leave your vehicle on the drive and plugged in. So that's the behavioural commitment that you have to do. The expectation is you don't change your behaviour at all. You still use the vehicle in exactly the same way that you always did. It's just that if you remember to plug it in, you get this boost. And if enough people do this, which is the expectation, that then lowers the electricity price for everybody else who either has an EV or doesn't have an EV or can't leave it plugged in for whatever reason. So it's only for specific use cases. But I mean, in the commercial space, the classic one in America is the school buses that do their school runs in the morning and then stay plugged in. And when they've done this, it's fantastic for vehicle to grid because obviously the things are basically a giant battery pack. And so they do grid services while they're parked in the depot and then do the school run basically for free. So post office vans are another fantastic use case for this because they tend to be very busy, very local, and then they stop. But most commercial delivery vehicles aren't used, 24 hours. They usually parked up at some point, so at which point they can participate. But there are so it depends on the use case. But for people that can that have that use case, fantastic. And if you don't, well, you don't miss out because by doing this, it lowers the energy price for you. So it's all good.
So given that, I don't know what the figure is, something like 90% of a vehicle's time it's spent not moving. Now, we've been talking primarily about an individual vehicle on an individual's drive.
Yes.
But of course, there are circumstances where people have parked their vehicles and it's not on their drive, but they may be plugged in. They may be plugged in at workplace charging. They may be plugged in at, you've talked about depot charging. They may even be plugged in on the 7-11 or 22 kilowatt public network. Is there the opportunity to have a V2G aspect for those use cases?
Yeah, I mean, any time where you can do flexibility, where the vehicle is plugged in for longer than it needs to be just to achieve the level of charge. So obviously on a rapid, when you stop, not so much, because on a rapid, you're on full power. There's no real flexibility there. So you're only plugged in for as long as you need to charge. So in that context, at that point, there isn't really any V2G. Obviously, you can do stuff if there's on-site batteries, but at that point, no. But where you are plugged in for longer than you need, so where the vehicle's going to achieve the desired target in the hours that you're there, then absolutely 100%.